concepts. That is why, after having this orientation, we will be doing the contextualization of these ADM modules into Tinubuan ng Binisaya and Waray languages, because these are the languages spoken by our children. So we will follow the spoken language of the learners, not that of the teacher. Okay? But in some instances, when there are no equivalent terms in the mother tongue, that is the only time that we can borrow from the other languages. Okay? So we should be very careful enough. I'll not make this long because I'm only given 3 minutes by Sir Ryan. Of course, I would like also to congratulate the live wire or the focal person of this activity, none other than Dr. Gertrudis C. Mabutin. Let's give a round of applause to Dr. Mabutin for contextualizing this kind of activity. I know majority of us would benefit out of this single activity because it also involves other learning areas. It does not only involve the mother tongue, the LR focal, the ADM focal person, but of course, the learning area supervisors who are supposed also to lead their own learning area in doing the contextualization of these ADM modules. Okay? Just like the grade 3 ADM modules in Araling Panlipunan, considering that the content of that is based on our own context in Region 8, there is really a need also for us to contextualize that based on Region 8's context. Because although we have the mother manuscript done by the supervisors or writers from Region 11, still we need to contextualize it in our own context. So this is the same thing that would happen for the other learning areas in which we will be contextualizing it to Sinubuanong Binisaya and the Waray languages. So let's all be responsible for this tough job ahead of us. So please be attentive to our speakers so that you will know everything, especially on the standards in doing these materials. So with this, I thank everyone. Congratulations in advance for your outputs. That I hope that before the opening of classes, these outputs are already ready for distribution to all the 13 SDOs. Okay? Sige, thank you. God bless. Mabuhay tayong lahat. And before I forget, let's greet Ma'am Nova Jorge. A happy birthday. Greetings.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Oo. Happy birthday po, Ma'am Nova. Please continue to be a blessing to other people. Okay. Sige. Bye-bye. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Rose. Happy birthday also, Ma'am Nova. And to give us the statement of purpose and to acknowledge our participants, we have the focal person for kindergarten and MTB MLE, our education program supervisor here at CLMD, Dr. Gertrudis C. Mabutin.
Thank you so much, Sir Rai. Thank you so much also, Ma'am Rose, for that commendation. It's really very important that we gather today for this activity because we need to make our learners reach to the point of the aha moments. If we don't contextualize the examples, not just the language in our module for kindergarten and mother tongue subject, we also contextualize the examples that are found in the modules that have been provided to us by the other region. And so, as mentioned by Sir Ryan Chu, our legal basis is Regional Memorandum 373, Series of 2020. And we only have actually two objectives for this activity. One is this is an orientation for our writer participants on the principles of contextualization, which Sir Joy Bihag, our LR focal person, will comprehensively discuss this matter. And then the second objective is to discuss other related concerns or matters during our open forum. So we would like to request all our participants to be open enough for their questions, so that the activity that will happen after this orientation will go smoothly. Remember that this is just a regional orientation, but the main contextualization of the module will happen at the division level, because we want that our learners will really have the feel of the context. Because you have to understand that the waray in Tacloban City is different from the kind of waray in Eastern Samar. And the same is true, the kind of waray in Eastern Samar is different from the kind of waray in Calbayog City. That's why we made it, we agreed with our division coordinators for MTBMLE that the activity will now be division based. And similarly with our Sinubuanong Bisaya, the kind of Bisaya of Ormoc and Biliran and part of Leyte is different from the kind of waray in Southern Leyte, because naaman sila maadyo, no? Maadyo, okay? So this is a very timely activity, because you understand that time is fleeting and we don't know. August 24 will be already the opening, no, of our classes. And so those are our objectives. For the acknowledgement of the participants, those who are in attendance for this activity today are the division education program supervisors in all the learning areas except for English and Filipino, and also TLE, because we don't have TLE in the first K stage from kindergarten to grade 3. We don't anymore contextualize our Filipino and English, because the language, the medium of instruction of this learning area should be English and Filipino, right? And aside from our division education program supervisors in all those learning areas, as I've mentioned, except English and Filipino and TLE, we are also glad today to have our writer participants coming from the different divisions. These are the cream of the crop, because they have been chosen by our division personnel to be part of this activity. And so good luck, everyone. We hope that you will always remember that we are doing these things for our learners. It may be a sacrifice on our part to come up with the contextualized kinder and mother tongue ADM modules, but I know it's going to be lighter because everybody, we are thinking of what is good for our learners. Sarai, can we flash now the matrix so that our participants will be guided? Okay, so as you can see, we have a little adjustment as what you have seen in the matrix attached to our regional memorandum. Um, we have, after this opening program, will be the talk or discussion of Sir Joy on the learning resources standards to include the very meat of our activity. How are we going to contextualize our modules again to make it very meaningful, to make it very relevant to our learners? And this will be followed by the discussion on the spelling rules in Waray and Sinubuanong Bisaya. For Waray, we are happy to have with us Dr. Gretel M. Cadiong from Tacloban City. And hopefully, Ma'am Viole Isnoya from Ormoc City can find time to be with us. I just knew a while ago that Ma'am Noya is residing from a very, a place where it's really difficult to have the connection. But I know she is trying her best, or just in case she cannot make it, then we hope someone will help us with this topic. And then after all the discussions on the spelling rules will be the wrapping up and the next steps, of course, again by our OIC-Chief of the CLMD, Dr. Rosmarie in Guino. With this, good morning once again. Good luck. Keep loving our children. God bless everyone.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Emma. So again, we have the following topics to be considered for this orientation. First off, we have the learning resources standards, followed by spelling rules in Waray, and then Sinubuanong Binisaya. And afterwards, we'll be having the next steps. We'll also be having changes with regards to the time slot in such manner that we'll be able to finish this orientation hopefully exactly by 12 noon. We already have 71 participants who have raised their hand. Reminders, please click only the raise hand icon if you want to be acknowledged in such manner that you will be giving a question, comments, or other ideas. Okay, so again, click only the raise hand icon if you want to be acknowledged to speak. In such manner, later on, we will be calling those who have raised their hands for their comments or other queries. To start with, we have another reminder that you're going to accomplish the following forms given with the following links. The first link is for our online pre-registration. The second link is for our attendance this morning, while the third one is for the evaluation of this activity. Again, please copy or take a picture of the following links so that later on you're going to accomplish the forms. Having copied these links, we will also be forwarding to you these through the group chat or messenger to our different groups later on. Without further ado, we will be calling our Education Program Supervisor and CLMD-LRMDC, Mr. Joy B. Bihag, for the Learning Resource Standards discussion, and this will be followed by our Education Program Supervisor of the Division of Tacloban City, Dr. Gretel Laura M. Cadiong, for the spelling rules in Waray. And afterwards, we have the spelling rules in Sinugbuanong Binisaya or Bisaya by Maria Violi is Noya of Ormoc City Division rather. Sir Joy.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Special mention to our LR supervisors at the division levels. Good morning. Okay, so this time we have another battle in the contextualization of our materials, in specifically in ADM modules from kinder to grade 3. So good morning, by the way, also for our writers, identified writers in the contextualization of these modules, and also our partners, the ADM coordinators, the learning area supervisors, because in the process of the contextualization, you are very important, specifically on the alignment of the activities to the competencies, and specifically here for our MELCs. Okay, good morning, everyone. And so let's proceed now on the contextualization of the K to 3 AD modules, the guidelines on the contextualization. Okay, so these are the following the outline of our discussion this morning, the statement of purpose, the overview of the ADM, the overview of the development of ADM, ADM modules design standards and principles, guidelines for contextualization of the modules, page setup, typography and specifications, guidelines and illustrations, terms of reference, and the ADM contextualization development and QA team. Okay, so first, the statement of purpose of this activity, coming activity, it's the to contextualize the K to 3 ADM modules, the coming from other regions, the mother document in Waray and Sinugbuanong Binisaya based on the instructional design and technical specifications set by the Bureau of Learning Resources. So this is the main task that you are going to do upcoming days after this orientation, because we have already the available materials or the modules coming from other regions. Okay, the goal to produce contextualized quality and appropriate ADM modules for kindergarten to grade 3 learners. Okay, for the overview of the development of ADM modules from the mother tongue. Now, to ensure that quality, accessible, and relevant liberating education is provided to all, and that Filipino learners finish basic education through they are in difficult situations, the Department of Education redesigned the curriculum and implemented the enhanced basic education program as stipulated in Republic Act 10533. However, despite the reforms in our educational system, it is still confronted with the challenge of ensuring that all learners will be able to complete their basic education. So barriers such as poverty, geographical distance, natural disasters like what we are experiencing now. We have this COVID-19 pandemic. Another, a poor health condition caused learners to be pushed out of the formal education. So for this reason, alternative delivery modes of instruction are deemed very important. That's why DepEd opted to adopt this kind of modality. So ADM is a non-traditional education program recognized by the DepEd, which applies a flexible learning philosophy and a curricular delivery program that includes a non-formal and informal sources of knowledge and skills. So that's the reason why that during the first National Assembly for Curriculum and Instruction held on December 12 to 15, 2018, actually matagal na itong plano na ito, at the teachers' camp, Baguio City, there was an agreement that each region shall develop alternative delivery mode ADM modules for a particular grade level. So in each region, my assignment on different particular grade levels. For us as a Region 8, we are assigned sa grade 5 in all learning area. I know that some of our learning area supervisors, also teachers, maybe are involved in the right development of the ADM for grade 5, and especially on the quality assurance and the review of these modules involve yung mga learning area supervisors. So ito, actually it started pa sa 2018. And then, natagalan lang tayo dito in the development of the standards. And then we just finalized that one actually, mga end of 2019. And then, it was downloaded to the region, the final ADM standards, first quarter pa lang ng 2020. And then, naabutan tayo ng COVID pandemic. So in which this ADM module is very useful to this kind of situation. So that's why we push through the development, the quality assurance of this material, and then that this time we are now on the contextualization of the ADM modules from kinder to grade 3, because this kinder was assigned to region 7, grade 3 is region 11, and grade 2 I think sa Luzon area. Okay. So as of this time, we have already the finalized one ready for contextualization and distribution to our to the schools for printing. But for us here, since it is in a mother document in Filipino and some are English, so we need to contextualize it to mother tongue and Cebuanong Binisaya. That's why we have this activity. Okay. So ADM modules design and principles. The module is a type of learning resource that is essentially self-contained, self-instructional package with learning paced by the student according to his or her individual needs and ability. And the module requires the learners to interact actively with the instructional materials rather than simply allowing them to read the materials passively. So that's why we really need to review, we really need to look into that these materials that we will be contextualizing will be an interactive one, that the learners can interact and they will really enjoy on the material, and it will be localized, it will be relevant to them. For the purpose of this ADM learning resources standards, a module is defined as a self-contained, self-instructional, interactive learning resource for learning a specific topic or lesson. And of course, it is aligned to learning competencies in the K to 12 curriculum guides. And as of this time, the initial plan really is that from the K to 12 curriculum guides, all competencies will have an ADM modules, self-learning modules. But since we have this COVID-19 pandemic, Central Office at the BCD initiated on the selection of the most essential learning competency. That's why we have this MELC. So nauna, ni-prioritize lang muna itong MELCs. But later, when will be wala ng COVID-19, so hopefully by this year or next year, early next year, wala na. So all competencies will be will have also its specific modules aside from this MELCs that we have already now. So yan, align sa K to 12 sa MELCs. And of course, ang ADM modules ay anchored on the ADM learning resource standards, which will be our basis in the development, and of course later are also basis in the contextualization or the standards. We will look into these standards in contextualization, especially on the specifications and the typography. Okay, so instructional design and elements of the modules. Since we are familiar sa ating grade 5, na sa K stage 2 tayo, but this K to 3 is in K stage 1. Okay, stage 2. 1 and 2. This is the elements of the body of the kinder. Okay. One, introduction or learning objectives. We have also the pretest. We have the lesson proper, activity, discussion of the activity, and enrichment activities, and generalization and application. So for in may naka-English siya, no, in the body parts or elements, what I need to know for the learning objectives, and for in Filipino, alamin. Sa pretest, what I need, what I know, and in Filipino, subukin. And in the lesson proper, activity, what's new or tuklasin, and discussion of activity, what is it, and suriin. And then the other enrichment activities, what's more or pagyamanin. So, and then generalization, what I have learned. And sa in Filipino, isa-isip, and application, what I can do and isagawa. So these are the parts later that you will be contextualizing into Waray and Cebuanong Bisaya for those divisions that are Cebuano speaking. And for the K to 3, medyo ang elements niya, marami-rami na siya. So these are the following. We have also introduction and learning objectives. In English, what I need to know and alamin in Filipino. The pretest, we have what I need to know, subukin. And lesson proper, we have a review, what's in, and in Filipino, balikan. Activity 1, what's new. Activity, what's new, and tuklasin. And similar lang doon siya sa kinder. Pero ang wala lang doon sa kinder is the review. Then discussion of the activity, what is it, and suriin. And also the enrichment activities. Independent activity, guided, specifically here sa grades 1 to 3. Okay? Kasi kailangan dito natin an explicit teaching. So we have a guided activity and independent activity, and that is in the what's more part of the modules. And in Filipino, pagyamanin. And we have the generalization, what I have learned, and isa-isip, application, what can I do, isagawa, and assessment, which assessment and tayahin, and additional activities, and karagdagang gawain. So these are the following elements or parts in grades 1 to 3. Later, we will show you some of the examples of the available modules in grade 3 and kinder, and even grade 1 and grade 2, but grade 1 and grade 2 are still in the conformance review by the central office. Ang available pa lang natin ngayon ay kinder, grade 5, and grade 3. Congratulations, Region 8. Isa sa mga nauna pag-submit sa central office, and those materials or modules already available for printing. So there are only 3 levels pa lang available this time. Okay, so these are the following, no? The following elements that is in the grades 1 to 3 modules. That is, we need to contextualize even these elements and parts. Itong what I need to know, ano ang waray-waray niya ini, unsay binisayaan ni. So, kung nauna na mo daan, kung unsay himuon na ni pag binisaya o pagwaray. Okay. So, let's proceed now to the guidelines for the contextualization. It's just a very simple reminder, in our contextualization, the concept of the contextualization. This refers to the educational process relating to the curriculum to a particular setting. So, that's why we discussed here at the regional office that I think we really need to, this time na, ating pag-contextualize sa ating curriculum, it will now be in the by SDOs. So that before, gusto talaga nila na by Kalbayugnon, Istihanon, Nortihanon, and even sa Norte, may iba pa doon sa Kapul, we have the Inabaknon. So hopefully, Northern Samar, you can also do the same sa Kapul, that you can contextualize the curriculum, the materials, the ADM modules in a particular setting sa Kapul, in Inabaknon. In situation, okay, like what, for example, we have now, this is one example of that the materials is contextualized, or our curriculum is contextualized in response to our situation now in this pandemic that we experience, or area of application. So this is one example. Actually, ADM module is one example of a contextualized material specific for a situation. So, contextualize siya. And another, pwede para natin recontextualize. For example, because we have another manuscript, we can contextualize that one into the specific language. Specifically here in Region 8, there are 2, Waray and Sinugbuanong Binisaya. And even Waray, may iba pa talagang mga waray-waray. As what Ma'am Ima said a while ago, na may sa may Sugod area, Southern Leyte, may Maadjo. But still, later, even though those mga specific na mga terms, but still we need to follow the rules, spelling rules in Waray and Sinugbuanong Binisaya. That's why Ma'am Gretel and Ma'am Violeta later will discuss also the spelling rules, because that is a very important one in the contextualization of our materials into Waray and Sinugbuanong Binisaya. And also, and language to make the competencies relevant. The main purpose of the contextualization is to make it relevant, meaningful, and useful to all learners. Okay. So, what are the things that we need to contextualize in the ADM modules? So, titles and instructions should be contextualized in consideration of the appropriateness of the language to the kindergarten grade 3 learners except the copyright. Okay, that's what we agreed. I asked BLR, Central Office, what are the things that we need to contextualize in the media modules, lahat except sa copyright page. Guidelines, another, or if it is really needed that the activity, actually wala pang activity sheets. That's what I discussed no sa other regions, because when I look at the MTB kinder module, it is parent or teacher lead module. So that's why, and then I browse it, wala pa siyang activity sheet. So that's why we really need to add activities per week, per competency. Ano ang appropriate? Okay? What I mean here, the sequence in the activity should not be changed based on the melts, because may melt tayo so later ma'am Gretel will discuss this matter, and ma'am Violeta later kung paano ito specifically sa kinder, because we have a different letter arrangement in orthography of Waray and Cebuano Binisaya. Okay. However, the sequence of the letters of the alphabet may change because this should follow the sequence of letters in the orthography as indicated in the primer lessons. This implies that the illustrations will also be changed according to the letters being introduced. Let's try also to see later, since our modules are based from milks, so titingnan din natin doon sa milk sa ating kinder. The sequence of the letters of the alphabet, okay, na siya, nagdubli na. Okay, reminder, as we contextualize or as you contextualize, it is important to follow the sequence of the mother tongue and not the mother document. Okay, so since we have a mother document, let's try to see if kung mag-align na siya, okay lang. But if needed talaga na mag-change tayo ng activities specifically on the letters or sequencing, pwede tayong mag-change. Because if we will not change, we will not contextualize in our situation or in our specific language, we are not contextualizing. Okay? So when letters are resequenced, some items on alphabet activities will have to be changed based on letters taken prior to current document, the current one. So that's why in your team later, you need also to identify illustrator. Maybe we can get some illustrations nga mga free or available in your division, but if wala talaga, so we need to draw illustration, new one for the illustrations. Okay, copyright page shall not be contextualized. English words found in modules are not contextualized and set in regular font. I don't know kung may bago ito, si Ma'am Gretel later, ano ang gamit, paano natin ang English word. Standard name of color, size, shape are retained, and numbers shall remain as figures. So, rules in correct spelling, use of foreign or borrowed words shall be referred to in the mother tongue orthography. So, that's why Ma'am Gretel later will discuss about the mother tongue orthography, and Ma'am Violeta. Okay. Of course, the table of contents also must be contextualized and arranged according to the sequence. Okay. The language, word or idea, the linguistic elements, forms and functions, an action, and the culture of the learners speaking the language should be reflected in the materials. So dapat specific talaga siya in a particular setting. The basic for contextualization. This is the basic rules in the contextualization of the material. Now, illustrations, pictures to be used. Should be that of the target language or user. So dapat, I saw one example in the kindergarten, meron doong nakalagay na marang, marang or ano ba yun siya na fruit. Na, di man siya masyadong familiar dito sa atin, no? Maybe you can change that one. If possible, stick to the number of illustrations since the mother document was already vetted. You can only replace a particular illustration or two that requires re-illustration for contextualization purposes. And by the way, Ma'am Mylane Barquera will be the one to discuss the orthography or rules on the Sinugbuanong Binisaya later. Okay, the page setup, typography, and the specification. Let us follow the as reflected in the ADM learning resource standards. We have that one already sa division. You ask the ADM coordinator, the LR supervisor, and maybe other learning area are familiar already with this ADM learning resource standards. So let us refer there. That's why we have our LR also present in order that this standards in the learning resource, it is specifically for EDM, will be followed. Okay, now let's proceed now to guidelines on the illustrations. I know that some of our those involved in the contextualization and waray are familiar with this already, or some of our illustrators and LR supervisors are familiar with this already. No? That do not change the cover art, by the way, this time. No, we have already the cover art per ADM per grade level. So do not change that one, except that if you will be developing your own division initiated modules, you can make your own cover art, but of course those standards on the font size, paging, it will be followed. Okay. All illustrations should fit within the print block of the manuscript or manuscript page, especially in the kinder. So, hindi siya lalabas. Like this example. Okay, another, illustrations must maintain definition when printed in black and white or color. So, meaning clear. Blank ink lines should be solid and uniformly black in all parts of the line. So colored illustrations should be set in grayscale or desaturated. It's up to you later, division, to decide, since the development and the production will be at your division. If you want that your illustrations will be colored, which is very good, appealing, and to our learners, right? So it's up to you. If in your material, since the output of this material will be finalized at your division, okay? We will ask na lang later mga samples of your outputs. At least we can display here. These are the contextualized ADM modules in Calbayog City, in Burungan, Biliran, Ormoc, and other divisions. So, kayo na ang mag-discuss, kayo na ang mag-decide if you really want colored one, of course, maganda, but it will also ano siya doon sa reproduction kasi mahal yung colored. Okay. Illustration should be appropriate for the learner's age and grade level. Okay, for the kinder, dapat appropriate for kinder, appropriate for grade 1, appropriate for grade 2 and grade 3. And of course, contextualize according to your locality when you're in your division. For K-3, bigger images are preferred because learners are highly visual. Okay? So at least malaki-laki talaga yung mga pictures natin, illustrations. Especially later because you will be developing also a separate activity sheets specifically sa kinder. Because in the kinder, ano lang siya, guide lang siya sa teacher and parent. So, wala siyang ibigay para sa mga bata to work on. So, yan. You really need to develop one. So, malaki-laki trabaho natin dito. Okay. Illustrations must adhere to the DepEd social content guidelines. Okay, how many times na ito na-discuss? But I will request the either ADM or the focal person in MTB or the LR supervisor will discuss this one thoroughly to the writers, your contextualizers later in your division. Kasi if we will discuss here, only half day tayo na late pa, matagalan tayo dito. So anyway, LR supervisors are already aware of this one, capacitated on this one, and can discuss thoroughly about the social content guidelines of DepEd that we are going. This is mandatory, actually mandatory to be followed. So, in every development at your level, school, division, district, dapat these social content guidelines will be discussed. Since this is mandatory for us, DepEd, to follow these guidelines. Another, downloaded from the internet should be avoided because they are low in resolution. But there are also mga illustrations, pictures, good illustrations na available from DepEd, from internet that are good in resolution. But you need to check first. Actually, later, no, I will show you how to download free illustrations and also pictures from the internet and how you are going to make a reference that one through by Chicago Manual of Style so that it can be added immediately to your references because before lang tayo, kuha lang tayo ng mga pictures or mga in quantum book but we forgot to put them in the reference. So babalikan na naman natin. So that's why guide when you can download or you can get pictures or illustrations from internet which is good in resolution, get immediately the reference or the citation of that website para hindi makalimutan. Okay. Now later I will demo how to get good illustrations or pictures from the internet, and try to check if it is low in resolution. Do not copy it or do not download it, do not use it. But those good resolutions, you can use that one, especially if that is free, to avoid downloading using illustrations that are not free from the internet. They may look good in on screen but not in print. They may also be copyrighted. So later we will try to see, give you a demo on how to find good resolution ng mga from internet and are free. Okay. Okay, so malapit na tayo. So those are some mga guides sa illustrations. And anyway, your illustrators, DepEd illustrators, national illustrators, acknowledged illustrators, you have that one per division. They are very familiar with how you are going to position, how you're going to lay out our illustration. So tap this DepEd acknowledged illustrators, and even those not yet acknowledged, but they are really good in your division. Actually, we have a lot of teachers, personnel at their division na marunong mag-illustrate. Okay. So, terms of reference for the editor. So, dapat in your team later, not only you have your writer, you have a supervisor, but of course, we need to identify one in your team, my editor. Function niya, to review the translation, coherence and clarity, grammar and syntax, spelling and punctuation, consistency in style, etc. Illustrations and copyright content before signing off the modules. So, sino ang aning dapat maging editor? So, those very familiar sa waray orthography and sinubanong binisaya. Siguro, yung mga MTB coordinators na supervisors natin, di ba? Sila yun. Okay. Review the learner's materials or the ADM modules to check whether these are free from factual, grammatical, typographical, computational errors, and plagiarized content and visual images. Okay. Write specific comments and findings on the margins of the printed copy of the modules that shall guide the development team in the making needed revision. Or we will be using that tool, summary of findings. Okay, we have that one already. ADM supervisors, LR supervisors are already familiar with that one, and even our ating mga learning area supervisors. So use that one in reviewing the material or your contextualized one. Another, check whether the LM is compliant with the design and development standards and requirements. Ensure that valid comments are implemented in the revisions, corrections of the modules. So that's why actually it's there are some situations that one that we can print, one that we can say it's already finalized, but actually it's not. So try to see that the ADM modules that you contextualize, yung pinaka-updated. Yung baka yung mga luma pa ang maging ma-submit for printing. Okay. Supervise and guide the contextualization process. Language reviewer. Now, if you have really you can tap mga language reviewer, but if okay na ang ating editor, so pwede na siya na wala na tayong language reviewer, no? Okay, attend the orientation kasi dito sa ano natin, yung sa central office led na mga contextualization, they tap mga ating language reviewer from LNU, from um, other universities, no, to read our material. So it's up to you at the division level if you can tap one from the universities or colleges in your area to review your material. Specifically for Waray and Sinubuanong Binisaya only. Review the assigned contextualized learning material to check for language errors. Of course, kung you are going to tap outside, mayroong bayad yun. So, kayo nang bahala kung meron tayong budget. As of now, ang budget tinownload ng central office is for reproduction purposes only. Okay. Okay, language review, write specific comments, the same as on the almost the same with the editor, but they will also clarify with the editor the validated comments and findings made on the assigned learning area if needed. Check the proofread, the revised learning material to ensure that corrections were implemented. Okay, here, the contextualizers. I think a lot of I think we have a lot of participants now, the contextualizers or the writers. Ito yung mag-translate from our mother document to the Inwaray and Sinugbuanong Binisaya. So as of now, our participants now are almost 1,000 na, 968. So, ang dami. Because I have a lot of materials to be contextualized. Imagine, grades 1 to kinder to grades 1 to 3, except Filipino and English. So, lahat. MAPI and MAPI, there are 4 components. So, ang dami, no? ESP, mathematics, science in grade 3, we need to contextualize that one. That's why we have a lot of participants. So that's why in your division later, you really need to have really a formal orientation. Para mabilis yung trabaho. Kunti lang yung kailangan na i-revise when the language reviewer or the editor will review. Okay. So contextualize the master modules according to contextualization guidelines, standards, and format and layout specifications. So this one, sa layout specification and format, it will be the reference, our reference will be the ADM Learning Resource Standards. Okay, again, if you forgot already to where is your file of this one, I will send later to our LR supervisors, the ADM coordinators, and of course the MTB, MLA coordinators. We have new ka-partner this time, the MTB. During the ADM, ano lang, ADM supervisor, LR, and then mga learning area. Wala pa tayo sa masyadong involved sa MTB. This time, we have additional one. Okay. So, refer to this sa ADM LR standards. Language review, of course, pati rin kayo, you need to do the language review, content, and illustrations of the manuscript prior to submission to the editor for her or his review and sign off. Implement valid comments of the editor in the revision, finalization of the modules. Sign off, ready to print. Actually, we really experienced difficulty at the region when we had our quality assurance sa ADM modules because yung mga writers malayo, no, online, and sometimes there are writers na hindi makontak, no signal, no internet. So that's why some of our ADM modules we did not bring again na or send to the division na lang. We just revise here na kung kaya dito sa region. Okay. Implement and valid comments. Okay, ready, sign off, ready to print module. So, magsa-sign off din kayo dyan, ha? At the division level. Para at least makita na may accountability yung mga contextualizers natin, writer natin. Na ayusin talaga nila. No, that is really coming from them. Okay, next. Contextualizer pa rin or the writers. Discuss the instructional design and format of the ADM with the writing team. Ito mahirap ito, no, because the writing team are coming from other region. So kayo na lang diyan ang mag-analyze with the learning area supervisor, for example in mathematics. So that's why we really need to tap also the learning area supervisors. Our learning area supervisors will really need to participate to this one because this is their area. So, dapat yung concept, yung idea, dapat correct based from their approval, no? From the learning area supervisor. Another, ensure the curriculum standards or learning competencies of the subject area are complete and sufficiently developed. Contextualizer, you have to refer that one to our competencies and even sa ating mga learning area supervisors. So, ensure that learner's material is free from factual, grammatical, typographical, computational, or mathematics. Not only mathematics, there are maybe learning area that needs computation. And plagiarized content and visual images. By the way, this afternoon, if possible, yung mga writers natin contextualizer, maka-attend this afternoon, we have a webinar on the second phase of our webinar on copyright initiated by BLR. This afternoon, 1:30 to 4:30 and on Monday. So please share yung link later mga LR supervisors and mga writers. Actually may mga writers tayo din involved sa ADM modules. Ensure that all readings, text, and visual images are properly cited and referenced using Chicago Manual of Style. Sige, especially later ang mga illustrations, no? I know that there are a lot of illustrations that you need to change. Maybe di niyo gusto yung drawing ng region 11, gusto niyo palitan, so you can change it, but it is still appropriate for the text, no siya, or the concept. Okay. Ensure that the text and images follow the social content guidelines of DepEd again. Illustrator, ensure that original artworks are based on skill, competency, culture sensitive, and appropriate to target users. Of course, illustrator and writer contextualizer, mag-usap-usap yan. And the learning area, lahat mag-usap-usap kayo para yung output natin ay maganda. Okay. Revise artwork based on the valid comments, recommendations of the other members of the contextualization team. So, teamwork talaga yung team natin sa pag-contextualize. Okay. Layout artist. Of course, dito yung maglalaro na dito ang PDO natin. Mga PDO, it's your time. Ito kung talagang kaya ng PDO. Or you can tap other ICT expert skilled, no, in layout of our modules. Revise, finalize the layout of the contextualized modules based on the recommendations of the editor, contextualizer, and illustrators. Ensure that the layout of the artwork is readable, for the intended user. So yung layout, by the way, you are going really to refer always to the ADM LR standards. No, yung font size, font style, and margins, yung and others. Okay. Submit the final layout manuscript for review, sign off of the contextualization team. Submit the digital copy of the final contextual modules to SDO focal persons. So yung mga focal persons natin, MTB, ADM, and LR. So dapat mayroong copy lahat yun. So yung layout artist yan ang mag-finalize. Ay, okay. Thank you. That's the last slide. Okay. I will show you to the by the way, hindi ko nalagay dito yung LR development team and the QE team. So I will show you the LR ADM LR standards. So this is one. Part 5 of the ADM Learning Resource Standard is the ADM LR Development and Quality Assurance Teams. Okay. So nakalagay dito. So let us try to look into only na which is applicable. Kasi nakasali dito ang central office. So since that is already division lead development, so doon tayo sa division. So sa chairperson, it will be chaired of course by the chief of the curriculum and learning management. The region, no? Kung sa region ang development, pero division tayo. Dito na tayo sa chief of the curriculum and implementation division. But depende yan sa chief if he or she will designate another chairperson. And then for if the development would be at the division school level, ang principal ang chairperson or duly appointed officer in charge or teacher in charge. Okay. So ito yung mga functions, roles and responsibilities. Ensure that the complete staff work is prepared and approved. Ensure that completeness, correctness, and adherence of the ADM modules to the standards. Manage the development process of the ADM module standards. Specifically here, this is already in the contextualization phase. Okay? Co-chairperson at the division level will be supervisor in ADM and LR. And of course, kasama na dito yung MTB. So it depends kung kayo na lang dyan kayo na dyan magsabot-sabot kung sino ang co-chairperson or you three ang chairperson. No? Dapat tatlo na. ADM supervisor, MTB supervisor, and the LR supervisor para masaya. Of course, ito yung mga roles and functions nila. Nandyan yan so by this time, hopefully we can really follow this one, ang ating mga makakuha tayo ng mga, yung ninyo, complete staff work, no? Yung development team ninyo. So at least this time, makakuha na tayo we can document na, since we started this one, na dapat meron na tayong document in office in case na there are some monitors from the central office that how did you do the contextualization? Are you following standards? We have already the MOVs. So naka-document na yan. So this time, may I request all the specifically ang ating LR, start to document this one ang ating how we are going to um, document para may improve tayo. Okay. So of course, members, yung mga learning area supervisor sa division. Master teacher, and of course, yung mga writer. Ito, writer. So ito yung mga function ng writer. Contextualizer, nandun na yon kanina, na-discuss na, kasi ito siya for EDM. And for the illustrator, and in-house content editor, and language editor. Layout artist, proofreader, kung mayroon, and elder, specifically sa mga IP. And then for the quality assurance. For the quality assurance, the chairperson will be also the same CID chief. Okay, yung mga may file. So dapat again, you have to document this one na may nag-quality assurance tayo and that we have your team. Document approved by the SDS and the CID. Of course, the co-chair, the supervisors in ADM, MTB, and LR. At the division level naman, school coordinator or the principal. Okay, of course, the content reviewer, language reviewer, book design format evaluator, or yung mga layout expert, illustrators natin, but that is not the one na ang nag-layout. Dapat separate. Kasi yung nag-layout, perfect na yung gawa niya. So, dapat may ibang titingin. Okay. So, those are the things that we need to follow as guidelines in the contextualization. And of course, again, may request na you have to document this one because this is our start of the contextualization. Dapat nag-start tayo ng documentation from our writers and the development team and quality assurance team. And so on. Dapat mayroong mga documents sa review natin tools, dapat naka-document and we have your MOVs later because some of you maybe will be applying for ISO. Yun, isang MOV na ninyo yan. Okay, sige, siguro maybe it's already 10:30. I will not conduct a demo on the how to find free pictures, good pictures, and how to cite in Chicago manual of style sa online. Madali na lang kasi you have to do it online and then copy-paste na lang siya. Later, if we have still time, I will do it if my time na. So, kasi meron pa tayong dalawang speaker of the house. So, si Ma'am Gretel and Ma'am Mylane Barquera. Okay? So, thank you very much. Later na lang mga questions. Text na lang kung anong mga additional questions. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Joy, for again, thank you very much, Sir Joy, for giving us the standards of ADM learning resources. There is a question lang, Sir Joy. Let's have the open forum later, but we will address one of the questions given here in our chat box. Is there a need for us to change the development team? Because we are not the original development team. We are just contextualizing the modules. Would it not be a violation to the copyright owners of these modules, Sir Joy? Again, Sir Joy.
Okay, sir. Hello?
There's a question if there is a need for us to change the development team because we are not the original development team. We're just contextualizing or translating and localizing the modules. Would it not be a violation to the copyright owners of these modules?
No, we will make another put our names aside from that development team there. Doon ang ilagay natin contextualization and quality assurance team, iba na siya. Later, we will try to find ways how to, which part there that we can put our names, your names at the division, yung contextualizer at the division or the team at the division in the contextualization of that ADM modules. Hindi natin tanggalin yung mga names nila. And then also, I am trying to ask the Word file of this one para madali na lang pag contextualize natin. Because what we have now, PDF file na natin.
Opo. Sige. Thank you po, Sir Joy. So, there you have it. The regional development team still there. Then we'll be having a space wherein we'll be having also the names of the contextualizers. Okay po. The sharing of the template will be done to the LR supervisors or PDOs or personnel at the division level. Thank you again, Sir Joy, for the Learning Resource Standards discussion. Next, let us welcome one of our education program supervisors in SDO Tacloban City. We have Dr. Gretel Laura M. Cadiong for spelling rules in Waray. Ma'am Gretel.
Good morning. Sir Rai, can you hear me?
Yes, Ma'am Gretel. Good morning po.
Morning, Ma'am Gretel.
Good morning.
And starting na yung screen sharing.
Okay. Okay. So I'm having technical problem. I'll wait for a while.
Nakikita na po namin, ma'am, yung presentation.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Ma'am Emma, our coordinator for this activity. Sir Joy, mga ka-LR, my co-EPS in Learning Resources, Sir Ryan, good morning. And of course, our EPS counterpart for a different division and also our writers. So mine would only be a footnote, some footnotes and rules for learning resource contextualization specifically for Waray. Okay, let me start. Sir Joy have already comprehensively explained to us why we need to contextualize our learning modules, because we would like our learning resource, our modules to be more meaningful, interesting, and relevant to our learners. Okay, now let me have some reminders on our contextualization activity. First, as we contextualize, we have to include and involve people, our own situations as Waray or Sinugbuan ng Binisaya people, the setup or circumstances familiar to our learners. I believe the modules is coming from Region 11 and other regions, so most probably the setup, the circumstances, and the situations are within their context, so we can change that. Then number two, we have to simplify the material in order that we can suit this to the learner's level. And the most important, of course, is to use the first language of the learners in the learning resources. So in the case of the Waray, we have to follow some spelling rules. I have already discussed this several times, but for those who are new in this task, this will be very helpful. Now, number one, this of course is from our Waray orthography, which has been prepared by the Late Normal University, spearheaded by Mr. Voltaire Oizon. So when we have to look at our spelling in our materials, we have to consider that we can adopt spelling of before and now. For example, in our old way of spelling Waray, we usually change the spelling of words into our own syllabication and into our own spelling rule. For example, let me take computer. Before, we spell computer as K-O-N-P-Y-U-T-E-R, but this time we may have to retain it as it is, because many of us are already familiar with the word computer. Okay, now in using borrowed letters, we cannot follow one symbol, one sound principle because the mother tongue, Waray, we have this principle, one symbol, one sound. But there are borrowed letters that there are two sounds. For example, the letter K, the letter C, I'm sorry, letter C can have K and S sound. Letter H, for example, can be Jose and Jen as J. So we have to accept both, especially if we are considering proper nouns like name of persons and name of places, and name of establishments for that matter. Now, let me take very important rules. This one, I have to highlight this one, the rule of using I and E. Because when I look into some materials, these are the most common errors that I would see in the spelling. Okay, the first rule is all words that are originally Waray with a vowel or sound of E should be written in I, not E. Okay, again, so you have to use letter I instead of letter E. For example, I have these words enumerated as example. These are the common errors which I would see in some of our learning resources. Diri is an original Waray word, so therefore there should be no letter E on that word. So not dire or deri. Although in our principle, there is no distinguishing sounds between letter I and letter E because Waray people would basically pronounce letter I and letter E similarly. But because we are using academic language, we have to be very specific on its spelling rules. Okay? So sa pag-pronounce, walang problema. Pero in spelling, we really need to show our children the right spelling for our language. So we have hini, ini, iton, pirmi, babayi, lalaki, lamisa, istorya. So these are the common errors, words which are misspelled most frequently. Okay, another rule for the use of I and E, we have to remember that we can use letter E in some of the words, but only when these words are borrowed. For example, we have ahente, bakante, bandera, bicicleta, edad, ahensya, aksidente. These words actually are borrowed from Tagalog, from Filipino. Some of them are borrowed even from the Spanish words. So it's okay to use letter E as long as they are not original Waray words. So I hope you will remember these two rules. Okay, then let's go to the use of O and U. Another spelling error which is frequently observed in our learning resources is the use of O and U, which is oftentimes being, nagkakabaliw. But anyway, we have this rule. Number one rule is the letter O, okay, please take note. You can take screenshot of the rules if you have no copy of this one. But I will be forwarding this to Sir Joy so that this can be shared to all our writers. Letter O is used when the word has only one sound of O or U found at the last syllable of the word and no other consonant follows. So this is something very confusing. In our Waray orthography, if you have to refer to that, medyo confusing. I made it very, very simple for us to understand. Now let me give you some examples to concretize this idea. Now, the word kabo, there's only one sound of O, there's only one letter O, and it is at the end, okay? So there is no other consonant letter that follows. Therefore, we use letter O, not letter U. So you have the word kabo, dako, walo, liko, bato, pato, tigo, igo, ato, lako, pako, laso. So these are examples of rule number one. Okay, now let's go to rule number two as far as O and U, use of O and U is concerned. Okay, letter O is used. Again, you will have to use letter O when the word has more than one syllable. Kanina, ilang syllable yun? Dalawa. Okay? When the word has more than one syllable and has one sound of O or U, but followed by a consonant. So the preceding example, the word is not followed by a consonant, but this time, one syllable, but is being followed by a consonant letter. So again, you have to use the letter O. Okay, examples are the words manok, lidong or lidong. So sometimes the word lidong is being misspelled with U. Since rule number 2 says one syllable and followed by consonant should be O, we have to spell it with O. You have the word baton, kahoy, lawod, patod. Patod is most oftentimes misspelled with U. So we have to correct that because it should be spelled with O. You have the sagdon, pawod, and tipod. Okay, so these are examples. Another rule for the use of O and U is this one. So when do we use letter U? So the two preceding rules, we have to use the O, but this time we have to use letter U. So when the first syllable of the word has the sound of O or U, oftentimes letter U is used. So this time, the first syllable, nandyan sa first syllable ang sound ng O or U. So let me take some examples so that you will understand better the rule. You have the word suman. So since it is in the first syllable, the sound of O or U is first syllable, so we have to use letter U. Suman, huna-huna, suka, bunay. So mostly, if you have to look into the stores, ang bunay is being spelled with O, but actually it is a misspelling. So we use letter U because we have to follow this third rule. You have tuna, buri, luwag, ngan, tuna. So these are examples of rule number 3. Okay. Now let's have okay. We have to continue with the use of O and U. The fourth rule says, when the word has 2 or more sounds of O or U, letter U is used in the first, the second, or third syllable, and the last. And on the last syllable is letter O. Okay? So medyo mahirap maintindihan, but again, I would have to give example to concretize this rule. For example, you have the word, this one, sulod. The first is U, the next is O. This cannot be both U, nor this cannot be both O. Another word is magturutdo, which is oftentimes used by many of our teachers. So magturutdo, there are 3 sounds of U. So the first 2 is U, but the last is O. You have the word, this one, quite long, puplunganon. So you have the first 2, they are letter U, and the last one is letter O. I hope this is clear. Okay? So, sunod-sunod, kahit ilang syllables pa yan, the first, second to third to fourth syllables would always be U, but the last syllable would be O. Okay. Now, another rule for using O and U. Okay? When we add the suffix on, usually, waray would have to add on to make another word. For example, buruhaton, from the word buhat, we usually add the suffix on. So what is the rule for this? Okay, so the rule is, okay, you have to change, okay, when you add to the root word the on, the last letter should be changed to U before adding the suffix on. For example, the word luto. Originally, it's spelled with O at the end. But since you're going to add the suffix on, you need to change first the last letter to U before adding on. So no two letter O's should be written side by side. Okay? Otherwise, it would be read as lutun, like an English word. So we have to change first the last letter O into U before adding on. So therefore, ang dugo, dugo on, you have to change O to U, the last O, and then add on. Okay? Okay. Now, what are our rules in adding a suffix? When you add an affix to a root word, okay, a suffix, for example, we do not change the spelling of the root word, except, of course, when adding on. So when adding on, we change the last O to U. So this one is another rule. You have to retain the spelling of the word before adding the suffix. Okay, example, lidong to lidongi. So you don't change the O into U anymore. Baton to batona. Do not change O to U. As is, just add the suffix I, suffix a to baton, and himo, himua. Okay? Yes, I hope this is clear. Now I have spotted also some common errors in word usage. Usually when I read shout outs on Facebook, for example, sometimes even in our what's this signages, I would see maupay na patron. That is very, very wrong, because in Waray we say nga, we don't say na. Malipayon nga kaadlawon, we don't say malipayon na kaadlawon. So we use nga instead of na. So I have the example, mahusay na bata is wrong, but the correct one is mahusay nga bata. Okay? Another error, okay? The word kun, which means if in English. If you're going to be with me, parang ganon. So kun is spelled with K-U-N. I often see misspelling word of kun. Okay? So, it is not O but U. Kung kita magkaurusa, kung kita magborobligay. So, it is U, not O. Okay. However, we spell akon, which is mine, with O. But kun, which means if, is spelled with U. Okay, another common error. We use gin instead of G-U-N. Again, ang G-U-N is a obsolete spelling. We no longer use that. Okay, but there are still some of us who would spell gin with G-U-I-N. Okay, see, this time we use G-I-N. When do we use G-U-I-N? When only spelling names of places. For example, the family name of our dear CLMD-Chief, Ma'am Rose, Guino, Dr. Guino. Okay, we use that because it is a family name. Mr. Guido, or the name of a town which is called Ginarona. So only when we are spelling some proper nouns, which have already been spelled that way. But words, common words, are already spelled with G-I-N. Okay, another common error is the word use of may ada. May ada is considered a two-word word. So dalawa silang word na considered as one. But we don't put a dash. Okay, walang dash ang correct. Now, may da, we only use that for conversational language. But for formal language that we use in the classroom, we use the word may ada. We don't use may da. This is a street language or parang ano lang siya, abbreviated ng may ada. Okay, so the wrong is this one, may ada with a hyphen, but the correct one, walang hyphen. Okay. Now, some rules in writing words with repetitive syllables. Mahilig tayong mag-repeat. Waray people are would usually repeat words. Kaya nga meron tayong Junjun, Tintin, because we are fond using words with repetitive syllables. Now, some of our words also in Waray are repetitively pronounced, kaya yung syllable inuulit. So, anong rule natin? Retain the spelling of the word even if the syllables are repeated, but use a hyphen. Example, huna-huna. The word huna-huna, you don't change anymore the second word to O, okay, in consideration to the previous rule, but you just have to put a hyphen. Repeat, as is. The word banog-banog, okay? So you don't change again the spelling, but just have to put a hyphen. Usa-usa, okay? Wrong pag change mo pa yung spelling. So you just put a hyphen. Okay, for borrowed words, okay? This time, it is very possible that we will be using borrowed words, especially for math subjects, what else, for science, okay? How are we going to borrow words from English? Okay, if words to be borrowed are added with affixes, spell it as it is, but separate it from the affix with a hyphen. So ito yung example. The word verify, usually we cannot find immediately a word, waray word equivalent to verify. So you just say, i-verify daw ang akong PIN kung asya lagi hapon. So instead of changing the word verify to a word in waray, you can use that, but make it waray by adding the suffix ig, separated with a hyphen. Okay? Example, ig check. Ig, okay, hyphen, the word check. However, in many of our learning resources, the word ig check is commonly used, and many of our writers would spell it as T-S-E-K, yung ig check. It's okay. Diba? The first rule, we can accept both. But this one, pwede din natin gamitin. The spelling, original spelling, naging waray because of our own affix. Ito na, itong internet. Okay? Actually, we have talked about this with Sir Voltaire Oizon because this seemed to appear double na. Internet, tapos dinagdagan pa natin ng tan. So since we are following the rule, we spell the word internet, put a hyphen, then the word tan, internetan. But we pronounce it as internetan. We don't say internetan. We don't say that. Okay, we say internetan. Or washingi. The word washingi is actually coined from an English word which is washing. Diba? Say, washingi daw an auto. But in spelling it, okay, washing is an English word. You add an affix, a suffix I, which is waray. You have to separate it with a hyphen. However, you pronounce it as washingi. Okay? The word load. Nasa rin kita, lodi daw, lodi. How do you spell that? Again, we spell the word load as it is, then put a hyphen and add I. So it becomes a new spelling, lodi. But in actual, we pronounce it lodi. Lodi ako makananten. Okay? So these are borrowed words, which can possibly appear in our modules. Okay, what else? Other rules in borrowed words. Okay, borrowed words such as technical terms should no longer be changed to waray. Retain its spelling. So you've heard Sir Joy earlier that we don't set it in italics, but it is the same with the other words. So no longer setting it in italics, but the same as the other words. Okay, carbon dioxide, photosynthesis, calcium, what else? Addition. These are technical terms that should be used as it is. Okay, so ayun, may example ako. I think I made myself clear, so I have to move on. Now, please take note that there are some words that do not follow our spelling rules. In other words, these are exemption to the rules. Why? Because they have already been traditionally spelled as they are right now. Example, the word paglaom. If you have to analyze, paglaom is actually following rule number 2. If you have to follow rule number 2 on the use of O and U, paglaom should have been letter U. But since it has been traditionally spelled with U, we don't change it anymore and borrow the word paglaom with the spelling of U. The word nasod, for example, if we have to consider again the use of O and U, it will follow rule number 2, which says we have to use O. But again, we have to use letter U. So these are traditionally spelled. We have also word kalibungan. We have the word kalibutan. These are words traditionally spelled. Okay, so we use letter U. Now, for the basic structure of sentences, our writers, you have to remember that we have a different pattern from English and even from Filipino. For Waray, our pattern would always be verb plus noun. Okay, so malakat hiana, nauuna permit verb. Unlike in English, English will have the noun first before the verb. Ana will go somewhere, diba? Mauuna ana hiana. But our pattern, una muna ang verb before the noun. So nakaon an ayam ni Mano Waldo. Okay? Sa English, Mano Waldo's dog is eating. So noun comes first. That is the pattern for English. Now for pattern 2, it's basically similar, but this time we are using pronoun instead of noun. Malakat ako. So una ang verb, this one, then the pronoun. Okay. Mapahuway hiya. Dapat hiya kasi hindi yan pronoun. Mapahuway hiya. Okay. Pattern 3, okay, adjective plus noun. So, uunahon anay an adjective before the noun. Mahusay hirona. Okay, unaanay an adjective. Okay, puro hitaas an punuhan dobi kontran punuhan bayab. So, we have to remember always this one. Basic rule, general rule, permin o orhi an noun and pronoun. Preceded always with verb and adjective. Okay. Now, I just listed down some misspelled words found in our learning resources. Boruhaton, lidongi, istorya, pun, mayada, yini, diri, babay, lalaki. Now, why did I list this down? These are the common words found in our learning resources which are misspelled by many of our writers. That's why I am emphasizing this, although I have already explained this before. Okay. Now, let me just remind you, when we contextualize materials from English or Filipino to Waray. So our modules from kindergarten to grade 3 are written in English. Okay, some are written in Filipino that we need to contextualize to Waray. Okay. I would like to remind everyone that we should avoid translating the texts word for word. Okay, so we are not translating word for word. So what do? You have to read first the whole material, get the whole idea, and start working on it. So before you start contextualizing the language, never attempt doing that without you understanding the whole idea of the material. Number 3, I am suggesting that we use simple, familiar, generic words. I think this will be addressed already since Sir Joy Bihag had given us the instruction that contextualization will be by division. I was thinking that this is going to be region-based. So I thought each division would be given an assignment per division, may assignment na subject area. So it turned out na lahat pala ng modules by division ang paggawa ng contextualization. That's why I made this suggestion, because sometimes we consider only our own variation. For example, if a Kalbayognon would contextualize, of course, what will surface is the variation of Kalbayog. Kung taga-norte, what will surface, of course, will be Nortehanon. Kung taga-Eastern Samar, Estehanon ang magsa-surface. So usually, in our contextualization activity, we have this table. What are the words, the page number kung saan ginamit sa learning resource, then ang variations. Now, this is only good because I was thinking that this will be a region-based contextualization activity. So since this is a division activity, I don't think we will be needing variations unless within your language itself, my variations. For example, in Eastern Samar, I know that Eastern Samar has variations. In the eastern part, I mean in the northern part, iba sa southern part. When they say naghahaya, but in doon sa northern part, for example, in Oras, that is nag-uuraw. In Kinapundan, that is naghahaya. So you can have this table as your variations, then come up with a generic variation to be used. Kasi it would be very difficult if the whole Eastern Samar would be using one word without the common understanding of many. So we have to consider that. I do not know with Samar. I think Samar also is a very big division. So therefore, I am very sure that there will be variations from the localities. So you come up with this kind of table, and this has to be attached to our modules so that our learners and our teachers can understand. So this is just my suggestion. Okay, another reminder. For math, we no longer use napulo kag usa, napulo kag duha, but we use 11, 12, 13. Di ba when we count usa, duha, tulo, pagdating sa 11, some of us would use napulo kag usa. That is not common. So we use common 11, 12, 13, etc. Tapos, symbols and its name should be retained. Plus, minus in math. Usa plus usa, we can use that. Before, we tried to contextualize that, but we found out, as per findings of many teachers, this has become more difficult to our learners. So we might as well retain the name of symbols and its name, the name of its symbol. For example, G clef, staff for music in the MAPIT. So do not attempt to contextualize that or to give equivalent word in mother tongue. Another, no translation, I already said this, in technical terms. Use it as it is. Para walang confusion, and bridging will be easier for our students. Now, I looked into the mother tongue material in grade 3, and I'm worried because it is completely different from our language. For example, there is a lesson, the MTB grade 3 that I perused through was in English. Therefore, in the language, in the use, for example, in the competency of the use of prefixes and suffixes, naturally, the examples there are prefixes and suffixes of English. But in our case, when we translate that, when we contextualize that to mother tongue, we will be using our own prefixes, we will be using our own suffixes. So I would suggest for the writers in charge of mother tongue, you have to refer still to our teacher's guide in mother tongue. Teacher's guide in grade 1, teacher's guide in grade 2, teacher's guide in grade 3. There are some language equivalent terms, for example, for noun, what is the equivalent term in mother tongue? Meron tayo nun. Although that is, you might ask me, Ma'am, these are technical terms, but we are talking about language. Therefore, our counterpart from LNU, Sir Voltaire and the group have suggested some equivalent terms because we are trying to academize our own mother tongue in Waray. So you have to refer to our teacher's guide in mother tongue. Meron tayo doon equivalent for noun, for pronoun, for verb, for compound words, for diphthongs, for words like this na hindi mo mahirapan kang hanapin ang equivalent. So refer to our NTB TG. You can even borrow some of those exercises that are found there because the exercises provided in the mother tongue is in English, and in no way we can contextualize that. Wala. For example, yung idioms. We cannot use the idioms in English for mother tongue. Ano man idiom hiton, apple of the eye, alang ka man sumiri nga, mansana san iya mata. Diba? Because we have no, otherwise you are translating word for word. So you have to find out what are our common idioms used as Waray people. So that is what I am trying to say. We don't translate everything which are in English, but we have to remember what are our common idioms. There are some examples which I can remember right now. They are found in Mother Tongue Grade 3. Medyo nahirapan kami noon na buuin yan. So since kami yung naggawa, I am one of the writers, you can freely use that. That is for your reference. Okay, now let me just give an example because sometimes we have problems when it comes to contextualization. No matter how we would remind you that you have to avoid translating word for word, it's still very natural because we are looking at a text which is in a different language. For example, this one, this is an English version. Okay, ito siya, kinontextualize siya word for word. So look at the word for word contextualization. It was a sunny day, masirak man hadto. Di ba? Correct man talaga hiya. So I played all day, salit nag-uyag ako magkulog. Very correct, walang wrong. Around the street I ran, nagdarudalagan ako palibot sa karsada, correct. Oh, I love the sun. Oh, makaruruyag good nga adlaw. Di ba? Correct siya. But then I tripped, pero natipakdol ako, and I slipped, nga napatalindas ako gihapon, correct gihapon, di ba? Oh no, there's blood. Tapos nasa ringan waray, oh diri, may ada dugo. I have a wound so bad. May samad ako, karaot man. So, I am showing you an example of material that has been translated to Waray. However, our contextualization, again, should not be word for word. Now, let me show you. I attempted to contextualize that to Waray, retaining the literary value of the poem. Remember, many of the materials are poems and song, which the literary value should be retained. Mahirap kasing mag-contextualize ng literary materials into Waray because you have to consider its pattern, its rhythm. In other words, you have to retain its literary value. Now, let me show you this one. This one is the English version, but this one is the contextualized version. Now, why did I use the word agidaw? Because this is an expression very natural for a Waray. For siguro doon sa Eastern Samar, atara. Diba? Agidaw may dugo. Usa ka adlaw nga masirak, magkulok nga mulay, duro anak rayha. Dalagan ng lukso ha kalsada, an kalipay, waray gud sama. Handuro nga paniguro, haroy natalindas ako. Pilas hatuhod, kadako hinduro. Agoy, may dugo. Buligi ako. Okay, now this is what we call contextualized material. We retain the meaning of the poem here by Mark Kenneth Camiling, but we did not sacrifice also its literary value. I hope you're getting what I mean. Okay, I have here example of songs. Ako ay may lobo. Okay, again, you retain retain the literary value of the song. Now, one rule for contextualizing song, you have to retain the measurement of the song. In other words, pag kinanta ng bata, the measurement of the rhythm would still be retained. Kasi nag-contextualize tayo, pero pag kinanta na niya, iba na, makukurian na ang bata. So, make sure that the measurement for its syllable would be similar to that of the original. So when you sing this May Ada Ako Lobo, it would still be similar to the singing of Ako Ay May Lobo in Tagalog, in Filipino. Okay, this one, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Okay, this is for kindergarten. Okay, I think I already shared this to many of the kindergarten teachers. You can use that one. Okay, again, you have to retain the measurement so that the singing or the measurement of the song would not be spoiled. Okay, we contextualize it, bugos, the whole of it. It's not only the language that we consider, but in all aspects, literary value, musical value, and everything. So ang pinakamahirap actually na ma-change, na ma-contextualize are the literary pieces, not much with informative. Okay, ito I would no longer be discussing this. This one is easier kasi informative siya, informative text. So informative text is easier to contextualize than those of literary materials such as poem, verses, even riddles. Mahirap siyang i-contextualize. So you have to be very careful. Again, always have it in mind that you are not contextualizing it word for word. Okay, so I guess I'm done with my work, unless there are some questions which can be entertained later on.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma'am Gretel, for the discussion, the spelling for Waray.
That has bearing with the, with the actual
Parang meron ibang sounds tayo.
and
There are hands that are raised, about 75, pero I do not know if this raising of hands is for questions or any queries. So again, if you have questions, please make use of our chat box. You can type in your queries, comments, or any other information that you would like to share in such manner that we will be able to also discuss it within the group. Ma'am Gretel, question. If let's say, for example, we have borrowed words. We
Yeah.
have borrowed words either in Tagalog or in English. Do we need to italize them?
No, write it as it is.
Okay,
Okay.
po.
For example, photosynthesis, it appears in your science material. Do not italize it anymore. That's the rule.
Okay.
I think Sir Joy had discussed this earlier.
Okay, thank you. Sir Rai, good tip po iyo sounds. Okay, thank you for the comment.
Right.
The slides, wait, for a moment, sir. The slides or the PowerPoint or the slide decks will be given to you through our focal persons at the division offices. So later on,
Yes,
Ma'am Emma
po.
will be sharing all the slides from the writers that we have. Sir Joy, I mean from the speakers.
Yes, sir,
Sir
right.
Joy.
That's right.
Sir Joy, you're saying
Hello.
something?
Okay. Ma'am Gretel, this
Po.
spelling rules in Waray can be applicable in all divisions, right? In Nortehanon
Yes.
nga Waray-Waray,
Yes.
applicable
Yes,
siya.
yes.
Okay.
Opo.
Okay.
Except of course sa Sinubuan ng Binisaya because they have their own spelling rule. By the way, I forgot to include the sequence of our letters for the information of the writers in mother tongue who are new to us. Sir Joy made mention earlier of the letter sequence that we have to follow, specific for kindergarten and mother tongue, grade 1. So please get a pencil and a paper. You have to write down the sequence of our letters. We have A, The first letter is A. We don't follow A, B, C, D. Okay, the first letter to be taught is letter A. Then you have letter N,
Ma'am,
letter I. Yes po.
can you include that one in your PPT, PowerPoint?
Okay,
Oh,
sige.
in
So
share
no
to
need
share.
for me to discuss
Oh,
that.
yes, ma'am.
I would just have to insert that in my PowerPoint. Okay,
Thank
well
you.
taken, Sir Joy. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
So again, thank you. Oh, ito, ma'am, Gretel.
Yes po.
Nagtratrabaho or nagtatrabaho?
Nagtatrabaho,
Nagtrabaho or nagtatrabaho?
Okay, usually we just have to say nagta. Nagta, then the original word nagtatrabaho.
Opo. Thank you.
Okay.
That was a question from Ma'am Cleofe Librelia. Okay, so thank you
Okay.
again, Ma'am Gretel. Sabi pa nga ni Ma'am Grace Villanueva, excellent. Congratulations, Ma'am Laura.
Thank you po. Okay.
Okay, so moving on to the Bisayanon, the Sinubuanong Bisaya. We have our education program supervisor of Ormoc City Division, none other than Ma'am Mylane V. Barquera. Ma'am May?
Batian ako, Sir Rai.
Opo,
Clear.
ma'am. Loud and
Yes,
clear.
Mamay. Loud and clear. Thank you.
Oh, kadit lang.
Klaruhang kamera.
Klaro, dili.
Klaruha kay
Ibaba.
makita tanan ang naong kay putol.
Putol?
Medyo,
Pakita
yan,
ng
yan.
pagkagwapa kana.
Kana.
Single pa
Sige.
bitaw na.
Single pa ini.
Asa na to? Share screen di ay. Okay. Kadit lang. Okay. Ngari ko ng start sa baba. Kani. Yes, to si Ryan. Sakto ba? Ano ba na siya? Sir Ray, makita na?
Nakita na po, AEEOO. Alpabito sa Sinubuanong Binisaya.
Okay, klaro na.
Yes po. Medyo ma'am, if you could move your microphone a little bit closer to your mouth so that we'll be able to have a louder and clearer volume.
Ana siya, klaro?
Clarado.
Sige, bira. Okay. Good morning, everyone, especially to the CLMD family. Ma'am Gertrudis Mabutin, Sir Ryan Chu, Sir Joy Bihag, to all learning area supervisors, to my MTB family. Tabangi ko ninyo ha. Unya, taod-taod. Bitaw. Okay, and to all the teachers listening, those who are in FB Live, and those who are in Zoom. Okay, so alpabeto sa Sinugbuanong Binisaya. We have 20 letters or alpabeto in Sinugbuanong Binisaya. 5 niini ang gitawag nga patingog. Then 15 di ay 15 ang katingog. Okay. So those are the letters, no? And then aduna no. Where is it? Di lagi siya mao. This is not. Okay. We have also we also adapted letters na mga tinatawag na hiram, like the other alphabet letters in the alphabet. So ginagamit natin yon in proper nouns and foreign words na gigamit sa Binisaya. Okay, like C, F, J, and the rest of the letters. Okay. Spelling rules for Sinugbuanong Binisaya. Rule 1. Spelling should be in accordance with the phonetic sound of the word. So, in Filipino, kung ano ang tunog, siya rin ang bigkas at sulat. Example, kwarta, not kuwarta. Nabwasot, not nabuwasot. Gikuha, not gikuha, using the spelling na merong U. Barangay, not the single G na barangay. Okay? Rule number 2. Use of O and U. Paggamit og O og U. If the word that begins in a consonant has O or U in the first syllable, U is usually used. Example, sa mga pulong duna, guba, kulba, hulat, suga, suwayi. Another, if a word has two O or U, usually the first is U and the next is O. Example, bukton, hugot, sungo, buho, tunok, o lugod. Borrowed words adapted by Sinugbuanong Binisaya are not included, like solo, bolo, color. Letter C. If a word has 3 O or U and the last two are side by side, the first and the second shall be U and the last shall be O. Example, lutuon, hubuon, buhuon, duguon. Letter D. If the word has 4 U or O, the first shall be U, the second O, the third U, and the fourth O. Example, bumubuto, lumulupyo, kumukuot. Letter E. The terminal letter O is changed to U when a suffix is added to the word. Kung last letter ang O, ma-change siya og U. Example, luto, lutoa, lutoon, lutoi. Huso, husoa, husoon. Hubo, hubua, hubui, hubuon. Sugo, sugua, suguon. Rule number 3. Use or non-use of hyphen. Letter A. There should be a hyphen between a consonant and a vowel to avoid confusion. Example, tamis, dili tamis, tinaw, busok, luya, tanaw, kabot. Letter B. A hyphen is necessary between two repeated words if they tell either similarity or likeness or repeated action. Example, balik-balik, kita-kita, labay-labay, duwa-duwa, suroy-suroy, duko-duko. Letter C. Do not use a hyphen between two repeated words if doing so will change or alter the meaning. Example, buko-buko, the back part, no? Backside, not buko-buko. Guro-guro, rough, not guro-guro. Barong-barong, shanti, not barong-barong. Huna-huna, thought, not huna-huna. Okay. Ay, sorry, nabalik. Rule number 4. If the word is borrowed from Spanish language, retain the vowel and change the consonant to its mother tongue equivalent. Example, ventana, we use bintana. Perwisyo, perwisyo. Bendisyon, bendisyon. Kaha, kaha. Rule 5. Don't change the spelling of any English borrowed word. Example, module, computer, chart, nurse, flashcard, noodles, and other scientific terms, mathematical terms. Yon. So, we will not change the spelling para di musamot kalibog or dili na hinuon masabtan. Rule number 6. Use of ug and og. Ug is used to mean and conjunction in Filipino at. Example, si Pia ug ang iya manghod. Kanindot sa buwan ug ang mga bituon. Maria ug Jose. Ug is used as a preposition. Example, dad-iko og pagkaon. Pagkuha og mga utanon sa uma. When comparing, may paghahambing. Oh, ito yon. Gamay, mas gamay, kinagamayan. Ato baya permi mabatian no? Pinakagamay. Wrong day siya. Again, gamay, mas gamay, kinagamayan. Taas, mas taas, kinatasan. Sayon, mas sayon, kinasayunan. Tugnaw, mas tugnaw, kinatugnawan. Lami, mas lami, kinalamian. Dako, mas dako, kinadak-an. Not like in Filipino na pinaka. Ginagamit natin kapag antas na pasukdol. Okay. Basic structure of sinugbuanong binisaya sentences. Pattern 1, we have verb plus noun. Naglungag si Ana. Nagduwa ang mga bata. Kay kung mangutana ang nanay, nagunsa man si Ana, mutubag man dayon ang gipangutana. Naglungag, dili man si Ana naglungag. So, mo na siya. Nagunag yun ang verb. Pattern 2. Verb and pronoun plus pronoun. Musimba ko. Nanago sila. Okay. Again, maguna ang verb, nauna ang verb, or punglihok. Pattern 3, adjective plus noun. Limpyo ang lawak. Mas taas ang punuan sa lubi kaysa punuan sa bayabas. Okay? Those are the 3 patterns. And yun lamang po. I have here another there are rules na pwede ma-refer sa lain nga material, no? We have ang giya sa pagtudlo sa sinugbuanong binisaya. We can use the book new share. Okay, this is asa naman ito. Pwede na ako pangitaon din. Down to ko. Dili ni siya mo. Word man siya.
Ma'am Mylene, i-stop sharing po muna ninyo yung slideshow.
Stop
Then,
ko noon eh.
i-share naman po ninyo yung naka-word na
Asa sa...
file.
Okay. Sige, sorry. Where is it? Diara. Balik ko sa Zoom. Okay. Kadit. Stop. Asa man ni? Yes. Okay. New share screen. Asa ba nung makita siya? Na siya sa... Dara. Ha? Kani?
Share screen. Screen na lang kini. Share. Board. Share.
Okay.
Okay, kana.
Makita?
Yes po, ma'am.
Asa naman to? Wala, nawa na ko. Dara. Okay. Ala, ano mabalik ko siya? Sayop. Dara. Okay. Mao ni siya ang book, no? Magbasa na kita. Kaya sa pagtudlog sinugbuan nung binisaya. Na ang letters naka-sequence siya. Tapos di adiri ang mga complicated nga mga rules sa grammar. So unahan kani naay
Kinahanglan memorize na supervisor.
karon ba mo kabasahan. Agay sa beda pinakalit ko no. Dara, mo ni siya.
Sa tanan nga supervisors jud na nang memorize ana.
Mga Pilipino pa lang ni bisag piyongan. Okay, mga hustong paagi sa gramatika o nadyo dire tagsa jud na mga sample.
Hatag mamay kay akong memorization.
Sige ma'am. Okay.
You will also be sharing that, Ma'am Mylene?
Yes, sir. I will share this one. Kani nadire kay may man ni sa K2-3 kay kuan na nila kinaon. Pero sa other kuan uban na kanang wala na use sa kuan ba sa MTB lisod-lisod. Especially kung mga but na mga module sa K2-3 ra man sa day no. Ano uban? Nadiri ka ng mga konsad sa science nga terms ng uban. Di gid siya pwede i-translate naara sa pani. Dirita sa numbers ay kay murag libog kay ning numbers. Okay, dirita sa numbers sa asa na ni. Okay. Sa oras. Di na. Kay aron di maglibog sa languban learning area supervisors. Kay wala sila na use ani. Naara ay ang zero di ay kay SIP mangani. SIP. SIP. Zero. Numero zero. Imagine. Ako nasabtan wa dyan mo. Ito,
It's no longer relevant to our learners.
Oo. Pero magamit ba na sa kuan, sir?
But once we translate
Pero
that,
we use the common terms. That's the kuan. That's the kuan na. Logic diha.
Okay po, ma'am.
Like what Ma'am Gretel said, kung moabot na siya 11, di na napulog usa or unsa diya. 11 na ta. Balik na ta sa Spanish kuan ba? Term, no? Okay. So na siya kompleto ni ang sa MTB nga book. Okay. By the way, in Cebuano, ang pinaka source gyud nato no, ang atong mga experts are from Cebu. from UP Cebu and University of San Carlos. So naay uban nga pulong nga di ta pareha, and rule sa MTB kung ano ang unang salita ng bata, yun ang dapat. So kung unsay common sa lugar, mao ang sundon, mo i-follow. Then kumbaga additive vocabulary na lang kung naagilain pa siyang term aron lang mapa-emphasize sa bata. And then di good siya nga i-insist nato unsa ang naa diha unya ang bata di na gininon siya kasabot, especially now na we have a lot of enrollees nga transferees from private school and they are used to English. Maglisod jud ta pagpakuan kung mga lawom kay nga binisaya atong gamiton. Okay? So I think that's all. I-share ko ra ni Ma'am Gertrude, Sir Ryan.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma'am Mylane. Again, we have Ma'am Mylane V. Barquera of Ormoc City Division for the spelling roles in Tinubuanong Binisaya or Bisaya. Again, the slide
Ako
deck.
ni stop
Yes,
share.
ma'am.
I-stop na ko share.
Okay, so again, all the slide decks for the given presentations of our resource speakers, as well as the orthography in Tinubuanong Bisaya, and if I'm not mistaken, if we could also have the waray, it will be shared later on by Sir Joy or Ma'am Emma to the group. Let's come now to our open forum. Are there any questions from the first topic on the LR standards up to the spelling guides or rules for both Waray and Bisaya?
Sir Ray,
Yes, Sir Joy.
pwede ako makuha na kadali. Gutila.
Go ahead.
Nakalimutan ko kanina. Okay. I will share you some examples that you are going to look at in the contextualization. Okay. This is one material of Science 3, Quarter 1. So you need to contextualize this one. The topic is solid objects or materials and their characteristics. Okay. It's about it has shape, size, color, and texture. Now, if you're going to look at the samples here, see, describe how these objects were classified. How these objects were classified. Okay. So, titingnan na lang. Now, look at the example object. Although this is correct example as the solid, but there is a corresponding concept here in relation to mathematics, which is applicable to be applied also correctly in science. The term or the concept here in mathematics is circle, but the example is ball, in which this is not a correct example of shape na circle. Right? What is the best one here? Hula hoop? This which is can still be solid and with the correct concept in circle. Right? Another. Ito, rectangle. Actually, ito rin, hindi siya rectangle eh. Itong book. Ito lang siya. Dapat, ano siya, ang ano siya sa definition sa shape. Another, ito siya, clock. This is another example that you need to change. Circle. So another example of clock. You have to change this one. This is not an example of shape ng clock. Ito, square. It's not an example of square. Nga, correct definition of shape. Ano pa? Meron pang makita. Dito. Oh. Ito marang, di ba? Oh, kasi ito ay ginamit ng developer ito doon sa Davao. Okay. So you may change this one which is very common or local products in your division. So siya. Ito, mark check. Dapat you have to change it with yung check symbol. Okay, that is for science. The two modules that I look at. Let's look at also kindergarten. The same ito siya. So you have to change this one. Dapat inside of these shapes, walang color siya. This is the example of the material sa kinder. Ito lang siya ang makita natin that you need to contextualize. But there is no activity sheets where you can give to the learner for them to do. So that's what we need to develop. Ano pa dito? Mayroon ito dito sa kinder. Okay, wala na. Okay, so yun. Those are the things that our learning area supervisors are very important in the contextualization. So, mathematics, English, wala sa English, ESP, MAPE, science, okay, and other learning area supervisors. Okay, that's all only, Sir Ryan.
Thank you very much, Sir Joy, for the sharing of an example of the module. So there you have it. As you have seen from the example, medyo malaki-laki ang i-contextualize natin sa binigay na modules. And here's a question, Sir Joy. Sample of how to credit the downloaded images.
Okay. Sige. No other questions? Can I demo now?
Can.
Okay. We are, ano na siya, 11:40. Okay. So, let's go to our browser.
Makikita, sir, ang Facebook.
Wala na. Sorry. Okay. In your browser, ito siya, no? Google. Okay. In your Google, you have to click first images. Okay, images. Images. This is first to find free pictures or illustrations. After that, clicking the images at the upper right corner, you are going to write now the key in now that for example, girl. Okay, girl. Okay. You want drawing, you want a clip art, you want an anime. Okay, it's up to you. Drawing lang, drawing. Let's choose drawing. So upon choosing drawing, here below sa search box, you can see tools. Okay, in the tool, click tool. Then, after clicking the tool, you can see down here the usage rights. Usage rights, click usage rights here. You can see the different choices. Labeled for reuse with modification, labeled for reuse, labeled for commercial reuse with modification, or labeled for non-commercial reuse. Okay, you just choose. These are all free. Unahin natin yung level for reuse with modification. Meaning, with modification, you can revise, you can improve the illustration. Okay. Okay, we will try to select one, no? Ito siya, ito. You can see, by the way, here below, you can see na that royalty-free drawing of girl. Photos free. So, next, you can see now the one that we choose. So, again, click this picture. That is not the one yet, no? The address, the reference address of that picture. Hindi pa yon. Kailangan you click pa the picture. Ito na siya. Di pa nga. Di pa talaga. You click again. Yung siya na lang ang makita. So, that is the one now. Na siya na lang makita, oh. So, makita mo dito yung image size. Ito, 388 by 5184 pixels. Meaning, malaki siya. So, very clear ito. No? These are ang resolution niya, medyo malaki siya. Okay. So, makita mo rin dito sa address niya, oh, pxfuel.com/an/free photos. Free photo. Okay, so makita mo na siya na free. But, as again, you are going to browse here below kung free pa talaga siya.
Nasobra na, sir.
Sobra na.
Ibalik mo, sir. Nandun lang sa baba ng picture.
Okay. Sketch woman.
Yan, sir.
Okay, ito siya. Free for commercial use. Okay. Free commercial use. So, meaning free na ito. So, this is the time now. This is the that you are going to copy or download. Hanapin mo lang dito paano siya ma-download. Or, ito siya, download original photo. Or, you can simply right-click, save as, or copy image. Pwede mo i-copy image, punta ka doon sa yung document where you want to put this one. So, klaro na ito na free talaga siya. Because in the terms of use, nakalagay talaga doon na it's free. Ito na siya sa ating document. And also, of course, since you choose the usage rights na, you can improve pa. Maybe you can add color to this illustration or drawing. Now, let's go back there sa how to copy, how to make a reference. So here, itong address dito, you copy, click the address bar, you highlight, then right click, then copy. And then after that one, go to open another tab. Then you write there, cite for me. Citeforme.com. Enter. This is now to make a reference of your picture. Cite for me. Bakit? Cite this for me. Citethis4me.com. Okay, here we are now, citeforme.com, and then you cannot see here the Chicago Manual of Style. So click more here, and then you can see the different styles. AMA, APA, Chicago Manual of Style, or Chicago Author Date. Okay, you choose the Chicago, not Chicago Bulls. Okay, you can also use this one by journal, book, and other mga reference materials. But since we use ang sa online, you will click website. After clicking website here, search for website resources. Ditong search, i-click natin dyan, then paste yung na-copy natin kanina. Okay, and then search. Okay, pag click search, andito na nakita na natin, ano pa yan? Click citation. After clicking citation, nandito na yung article we found, article title, sketch, woman wearing, binigyan siya. And then, wala siyang na authors. So, okay lang kasi walang author doon. Continue, click continue. Okay, meron ditong author. You can manually put it there. Please click again ito. Tingnan natin kung mayroon ba talagang author. May makita natin na pangalan. So, anyway, wala siyang nakalagay. Hindi niya gusto malagay yung pangalan niya. Okay lang, wala. Hindi na natin lagyan. And also publication date. Publication date, yung pag-upload, wala rin siya. Okay, sige. Wala na, huwag nating lagyan. Ito, lagyan na lang, i-click lang natin dito na not published or undated. Kasi wala. But there are some pictures or yung site na nakalagay doon, published with complete date pa, may pangalan sa nag-upload, yung may-ari, that tinit, gusto rin nila na ma-acknowledge. So, this is now the, And then, the date where you accessed or saved or copied that picture. So now, July 4, 24, 2020. So, okay na yan siya. So, okay. Publisher, wala rin siya publisher. You will click now complete citation. Okay, complete citation and here we go. Okay, nandito na siya. You are going to copy only bibliography citation. You just click this one. Makita na natin yung i-copy natin. Okay. Nasaan na? Complete citation.
You go now, sir, to the word.
Okay. Okay, na-copy ko na yun kanina. Let's go there. Hindi natin dapat dito sa baba. Mas maganda doon na sa references para hindi na madami. Okay. Click. Dito. Paste. Ito na siya. I-format na lang natin yon ang anong font style ba doon ang kailangan sa ating material sa ADM module, bookman, no? Bookman old style. Okay, then ang font size 11. Yan na siya. Siya na, may nagawa. Hindi na tayo meeting free photo. Access July 24, July 2020. So, yun lang. So, yun lang i-follow natin. Images, then search picture, anong keyword, and then tools, and then you have to, then we will go here in the site thisforme.com. Another source, yung Pixabay. Maraming mga free ito siya. Pero not all, no? Pero we have to search na lang. Boy going to school.
Okay, thank you very much, Sir Joy. The rest will be exploring that one in their
okay. So yan.
station.
Another, pixabay.com, pwede ninyo gamitin yon. Okay, it's already 11:50. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Sir Joy. For those who will be exploring the internet, please do so for the free images as well as the site this for me for you to be able to correctly
Hello, Sir
give the
Rai.
reference of the
Sir
Chicago
Ryan.
manual style. Okay, next up, we'll have the words of gratitude coming from our
Hello, Sir Ryan.
kindergarten MCB focal person, Ma'am
Uh,
Gertrudis Mabutin.
May I
Ma'am
take
Ger-
this opportunity of thanking everyone, those who are in attendance, of course, led by our division education program supervisors of the mother tongue, kindergarten, and the rest of the learning areas. Special mention also to Sir Joy Bihag, our focal person of contextualization, Sir Ryan Chu, our ADM coordinator, and Ma'am Gretel Cadiong from Tacloban City. Likewise to Ma'am Mylane Barquera. Thank you very much. And Ma'am Rose Guino also, and the rest of the people of the CLMD. Thank you so much. Sir Rai, can we show the quotation? This will be our parting words to all of us. Nandiyan na, Sir Rai. I would like to request everyone to be with me in chorus. Let us all together read the quotation coming from Napoleon Hill. In a count of three all together. 1, 2, 3. Great
Great
achievement is
achievement is
usually
usually
born of
born of
great
great
sacrifice
sacrifice
and is
and
never the
never
never.
the
result
result
of
of selfishness.
selfishness. God bless everyone and thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Ma'am Emma, for the very, very nice quote coming from Uncle Napoleon. Okay. So again, the different slide decks or presentations coming from our resource speakers, Ma'am Mylane, Ma'am Gretel, Sir Joy, including the orthographia copies will be given through a link using Google Drive by Ma'am Emma. Ma'am Emma will be giving it to our division focal persons, and they will be the one to give it to the rest of our participants in this orientation. Okay, it's now 11:55. Let's have a 3-minute closing. And for the last part is the next steps and encouragement words coming from our Chief, our OIC Chief of CLMD, Ma'am Rosmarie Guino, who is now in San Francisco ka, ma'am, ngayon?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes po, ma'am.
Very good. So thank you, Rai, for this opportunity again to be with them. So first of all, I would like